We'll just get started right away because it's 12:30. Go over to our mats, and today we're going to start on our backs. Get my microphones on, all ready to go. Find any comfortable position here. Take your time laying down. If your back is not a comfortable position, you can always come into child's pose or just start in a seat. Easy pose, cross-legged. Anything that feels good to you. And if you're on your back, take a moment to get nice and comfortable. If your lower back is bothering you, then bringing the knees to point up towards the sky, planting the feet on the ground, sometimes gives the lower back a little extra release, a little extra comfort there. And then you can bring your chin into your chest and rock your head side to side just a little bit so that it comes back, falls back to its natural center resting point. Your hands can be by your sides, palms facing up or down. Or if it feels good to you, you can bring your hands to your belly and feel your breath under your fingers and your palms. Once you've got nice and comfortable, close your eyes here and start to pay attention to your breath. At first, we're just noticing how the breath is feeling today. And perhaps you're noticing your chest rise and fall with each breath. Maybe you notice some movement in your belly or your shoulders. Maybe you feel your breath on the inside of your nose or your throat. Slightly cool as you inhale. A little bit warmer with each exhale. And now let's start to stretch the breath out. So this isn't a forced motion. We're just gently adding a single count to each inhale and each exhale. So if your breath had a cadence to it, maybe you started with a count of 4 for each breath in and 4 for each breath out. And then slowly start moving up. 5 counts for each breath. And then to 6. And see if you can stretch your breath out all the way to a count of 8 for each breath in. And 8 counts for each breath out. Anchoring ourselves to the present moment with our breath allows us to pay attention to just that one important thing that's always with us, the feeling of breathing. And at the same time, it allows us to clear the mind of all unnecessary information. Push away all those thoughts of the rest of the world so that all of your focus is here in the present, noticing your breath. And holding on to that nice, slow, deep, full breath. Start to move your attention throughout the rest of your body. down through the neck and shoulders, into the arms, the elbows, forearms, and hands, through your spine, rib cage, hips, and then down through the legs, knees, ankles, toes. As you're going through each body part, make any mental notes here of any sore spots or any tender areas that you might want to be careful of as you move through your practice today. Remind yourself that yoga is all about taking control of your practice, taking ownership of your body. So today, I invite you to make any necessary modifications. You can always take a break. The most important thing here is to listen to your body and make this practice right for you. Once you've made any mental notes, come back to your breath. Taking a couple more big, full, deep breaths here. Just being inside of your body. Blink your eyes open. Let's start by bringing our arms up overhead, stretching our legs and arms out as long as we can. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, curling tight into a ball, bringing the knees to the chest. You can wrap your arms around your legs and then lift your head up. Forehead comes to the knees, squeezing everything tight together. Release the head back down to the ground and bring your hands to your kneecaps. And let's just start by moving our knees around, gentle circles here, bringing awareness to the lower back. Noticing how the pressure on the lower back feels against the ground there. You can find circles in both directions. And then come back to center. Bring the arms out wide in a T, or you can goal post the arms, bringing the hands pointing up with the elbows straight out. And then float the legs up in a tabletop position, 90-degree angle in the knees and hips. Big breath in here. And on your exhale, dropping the knees down to one side, nice and slow. Try to keep the knees together here. And try to keep the 90-degree angle in the knees and hips, but it doesn't need to be perfect, whatever feels good. Those fingertips on the same side can tuck in the crease of the top knee. And then if it feels okay, you can turn your head over to the other side, other hand, so that you have a complete twist here from the neck all the way to the base of the spine. We're going to come back into this pose at the end of our class. So you can make some notes here. Notice how this stretch feels. Maybe you feel it in your lower back, upper back, more on one side than the other. And then later on, you can compare notes and see if there's been any changes in how it feels. And then let's switch sides. You can release that hand back out to the side. Inhale, lifting the knees up to center. And on the exhale, dropping them down to the other side, all the way to the ground. Fingertips here can tuck in the crease of the top knee if that feels good. And then maybe the head turns to the other side. Bringing the gaze to the opposite arm, elbow. And see if this side feels different than the other. Maybe yes, maybe no. Perhaps you feel the twist more on the other side, more on the top or bottom of the spine. And then release. This top arm comes back out to the side. Inhale, lift the knees up to center and tuck the fingers in the creases of both knees. And then let's rock and roll forward and back. So you can go with the breath here. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, rolling up to a seat. Inhale, back down again. Couple more times, up and down. Just go with your breath. And then make your way up to a seat. Coming into easy pose here. Traditional easy pose, we have our feet and our knees open so that both knees are touching the ground. And I like to kind of tuck one of my feet inside the crease of the opposite knee. But you can also bring your feet underneath your knees. A little cross-legged position there, whichever one feels good. On a breath in, lifting the hands up, stretch the spine up really tall, look up, bringing the hands together. As you breathe out, pull the hands through heart center and then release the fingers down to the ground. Try to keep the spine really long as you crawl your hands forward, hinging from the hips. And then once you find that edge, the points you don't want to go past, you can round your back out, maybe dropping the elbows down to the ground. Take a couple big, deep breaths here. And on an inhale, rising back up to a seat. Release the hands down to the lap. Let's do some gentle neck exercises here. We can start by just rocking our head side to side, dropping one ear down towards the shoulder. These can be bigger movements or smaller ones. The neck is really tender, so you want to go nice and slow to start off. And maybe that can start to move into some circles or some U shapes from one shoulder to the other across the front. Or you can also do those U-shaped movements with your head leaning back. And of course, circles are always a nice way to warm up the neck. Notice any kinks here, any tender spots. Sometimes they might feel different, one side to the other, or one direction to the other. And when you're ready, coming back up to a neutral spine, let's make our way into a twist on the breath in, floating the hands up high. Exhale, twisting to one side. We can bring one hand behind us. I like to tent my fingers on the mat there behind me. And with this other hand, you can tent your fingers on the mat in front of you, or you can cross that hand over the opposite knee. Take a big breath in here, see if you can sit up a little taller. And on the exhale, go deep into the twist. Bend the elbows and peek over the back shoulder. Inhale to sit up really tall. Exhale, deepening into the twist. Back to center on a breath in, float the hands up overhead. Exhale, twisting around to the other side. Other hand can come behind us. And this hand is in front or crossing over the opposite knee. Big breath in to stretch the spine up tall. Exhale, deepening into the twist, maybe bending the elbows, peeking over the back shoulder. One more time. Inhale, sitting up nice and tall. Exhale, going deeper into the twist. Back up to center, breathing in, float the hands up. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart. Let's reach down and switch our legs here. So the front leg is coming to the back and the back leg can go out in front. Once again, you can have those feet tucked underneath the knees or have this other foot just tucked inside the crease of the opposite knee. And let's see how it feels to fold forward with our legs crossed this way. On the breath in, hands come up overhead. And as you breathe out, take your time coming down, bringing the hands through heart center, then releasing the fingertips down to the ground. And walk your fingers forward. Try to keep the spine really long. Don't worry about how far you get down. Just when you find that edge, that point you don't want to go past. Rounding out the back, you can let your head and neck relax down towards the ground and let the elbows come to rest on the mat if that feels good. When you're ready, inhaling, coming back up to a seat. Take your time coming up. And then we can release our hands down to the knees. Anywhere on the knees that feels comfortable. Let's do a little spinal warm up here. So with the breath in, we're going to roll the shoulders down the back and then arch the back. Lean our heads back and peek up to the sky. And as you exhale, start to push your spine out behind you and relax the head and neck down. So this is a really nice movement to tie to the breath. Don't worry about how fast or slow you're going. Just listen to your breath. Try to move at the pace of your own breath. Breathing in, pushing the shoulders down, arching the back, peeking up to the sky. And as you breathe out, pushing the spine out behind you and relaxing the head and neck down. One more time. Just go with your own breath. And then come back up to a neutral spine. And let's come into a little side stretch here as we breathe in, floating the hands up. On the exhale, one hand comes down beside you. And you can start to walk those fingers out a lot or a little, however far out it feels good. The opposite arm's just arcing overhead like a rainbow. Fingers relaxing down towards the ground. And if it feels good, you can bend and straighten the elbow of the arm that's on the ground there. Finding some movement, exploring the range of motion. And when you're ready, coming back up to center, floating the hands up high, stretch the spine up tall. Exhale, planting the other hand down, maybe walking the fingers out, leaning down towards that side, and then the opposite arm coming, arcing overhead like a rainbow. And if it feels good, maybe bending and straightening this elbow of the hand that's on the ground. Whenever you're ready, come back up to center, breathing in, floating the hands up. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart. All right, let's make our way into a hands and knees tabletop. So you can plant your hands and then roll over the knees. Or you can swing your legs around to one side. And then let's focus on our hand placement here to give ourselves lots of support. We want to try to line up our wrists right underneath the shoulders. Our middle fingers or index fingers can be pointing straight forward. And we want to put some space between the fingers and then have a little micro bend in the knuckles. So we're gripping the mat with our hands. We don't want our palms to be too flat. A little bend there in the knuckles. Bring the knees together to touch right underneath the hips. And then let's come into a little balancing pose. One leg comes up. See if you can bring that leg parallel to the ground, pushing through the sole of that foot like you're stamping it into a wall behind you. If that feels pretty good, you feel pretty balanced, you can also try to lift the opposite arm up as well. If that feels too wobbly, just keep that hand on the ground. We'll just focus on the leg today. Take a big breath in here, stretching it out long. And on the exhale, release, hand and knee, come back down to the mat. Other side, just starting with just the leg, seeing how that leg feels, lifting it up, pushing through the sole of the foot. Imagine that you're stamping it into a wall behind you. And if it feels okay, maybe the opposite arm comes out up as well. If that feels too wobbly, just focus on the leg. Take a big breath in here, stretching it out as long as you can. And on the exhale, release. Hand and knee back down to the mat. So we can go with the breath here with that pose as well. On the inhale, lifting up the arm and leg or just the leg. And on the exhale, releasing hand and knee back to the mat. Inhale to lift and stretch. Exhale, release. Keep going, just finding your own rhythm. Listening to your breath. Let's do one more on either side at your own pace. And then release. And let's make our way into child's pose now. You can put some space between the knees. Bring the big toes together to touch. And then sit back on your heels and relax the forehead down towards the ground, letting the elbows come to rest on the mat. Your heels don't need to be touching your hips. They can be a little bit above if that's what feels right. Just close your eyes here. Forward folds can be very calming. So this is a good pose to come into if you're feeling anxious and focusing on the breath. Close your eyes here. See if you can do a little breath check-in and notice how the breath has changed, if there's been any change from our very first breath check-in at the beginning of our class. And then just like we did our breathing exercise at the beginning of class, we're going to stretch the breath out again. Really nice and slow. Each inhale, each exhale, just a little bit longer than the last one. Making our way back to a nice, full, deep breath. On your next inhale, lifting yourself back up to tabletop, and let's make our way all the way up to standing. However you want to get there. And we'll start here with mountain pose. So mountain pose is just basically standing up in yoga, but it's standing with intention. We're thinking about every part of our body here and placing them intentionally. Let's start with our feet and peek down at the feet for a moment. We can lift our toes up, spread them all out, and set them back down again, and then rock back and forth here really gently. Not enough to lose your balance, just enough to notice all of the points of contact that the feet are making with the earth here. Feeling all those nerve endings on the bottoms of the feet. And then find some stillness here. Mountain pose can have our big toes touching with some space between the heels. Or if it feels better, having the feet on two different train tracks. Root down through the feet. Lift up on the spine. We can have our hands by our sides, palms facing forward. Shoulders pushing down. And imagine that there's a string pulling you up by the top of the head, stretching your spine up really tall. Mountain pose is also called equal standing posture, which means that we can imagine that if we had two scales, one beneath each of our feet, we would want them to be as close as possible. Our bodies are not symmetrical, even though they kind of look like it. Yoga helps us to balance out those asymmetries. Do whatever we can to bring ourselves back into balance here. All right, let's try some warrior poses. Hands come to the hips and let's set up our legs. So we're going to stretch one foot back and the other one forward. We've got this foot in the front pointing straight towards the short end of the mat. And we have our back toes pointing towards the long end of the mat. And this front heel can line up either with the back heel or with the back arch. We want our hips to be open towards the long edge of the mat in warrior two. And you can have a wider stance or a more narrow one, depending on how your hips feel, how your knee feels. Just find a nice, comfortable place for your feet here. Lift up on the spine. Make sure your spine is centered right above the hips. Sometimes we have a tendency to lean forward in our warrior poses, but we want to stand up nice and tall. And then the arms come up, straight out to either side. Peek on the backhand. Make sure it's nice and high. And then turn the gaze right over the front middle finger. And so here we can also move with the breath. As you breathe in, straightening out the front knee, bringing the hands up overhead. And on the exhale, bending the front knee and lowering back down to warrior two. Keep going, just finding your own rhythm. Inhale to come up. And exhale, coming back down again. Imagine that your breath is helping you move. One more, just going with your breath. And then drop the hands to the hips. Step the back foot up to the front. Shake it all out. And let's try the other side. So you can just step that other foot back. I'm just going to turn around so you still see the front of me. We have this front foot pointing straight towards the short end of the mat, and the back toes toward the long end. Hips open towards the long edge of the mat. Spine centered right above the hips, not leaning forward, and the arms come up, making sure that back end is nice and high, and bringing the gaze over the front middle finger. And then we can start to move here. Inhaling, straightening out the front knee, bringing the hands up. And on the exhale, bending the knee, lowering back down to warrior two. Keep going at your own pace. Try to stretch out your breath. And then stretch the motion out, taking the whole breath to complete each motion. Last one. And release, hands to the hips. Step that back foot forward. Shake it all out. Back into mountain pose. Just taking a short little breath break here. Feet together or apart. Hands by your sides, or you can bring your hands to your heart and your belly and just feel how your breath is moving through your body here. Close your eyes for a moment. See if you notice. If not, that's okay too. See if you notice maybe that your breathing has started to quicken a little from moving with the breath. Let your breath bring you into the present moment. Bringing all attention to the breath. Noticing any sensations that are associated with your breath here. In any parts of your body. And slowing the breath down again. Blinking your eyes open, release the hands down to the side. Let's come into a little forward fold here. Again, we can have our feet with some space between them, or we can have the big toes touching with some space between the heels. On the breath in, floating the hands up overhead. Exhale, folding forward. You can bend your knees a little bit. Try to keep your spine long and hinge from the hips and relax the head and neck down. On a breath in, rise back up to standing, knees bent. Let your arms dangle down as you stack your vertebrae one at a time. On the way up, exhale, mountain pose. One more time, inhale, floating the hands up overhead. Exhale, folding forward from the hips. Nice long spine, knees can be bent if that feels good. Inhale back to standing, definitely with the knees bent, arms dangling down, slowly stacking the vertebrae. Exhale, mountain pose. All right, let's try some more warrior poses here. We're going to have our hands on our hips and set up the legs the same. We're going to come back into warrior two, but then we're going to try some other poses if you like to join me. So our feet are lined up, front toes pointing forward, back toes toward the long edge of the mat, and that heel lined up with the back foot. Nice tall spine, bringing the arms up and the gaze over the front middle finger. And then on a breath in, let's come into reverse warrior. Legs do the same. Front arm is coming up overhead, arcing like a rainbow. Back hand stretching down the back leg. Or maybe that back hand is wrapping back behind you, fingers reaching towards the front hip. Take a big breath in here. And as you breathe out, windmill the arms around, legs do the same. Drop that front elbow down to the front knee and stretch this upper arm overhead. Imagine that you're making a straight line all along that top side of your body from your top middle finger all the way through the back heel. Let's do two more, just like that with the breath. Inhale, rising up to reverse warrior. Exhale, coming back down to extended side angle. One more time, just going with your breath. Big breath into reverse warrior. And exhale, back down, extended side angle. Inhale, coming back up to warrior two. And then let's switch sides. You can switch where your feet are, or you can just drop your hands to your hips. Turn those front toes towards the long edge and turn the back toes toward the short edge. And then bring the arms up. Gaze comes to the front middle finger. And then on an inhale, reverse warrior, front arm up, arcing overhead, back hand stretching down the back leg or wrapping down towards the front hip. One more breath in here. Exhale, keeping the legs the same. Drop the front elbow to the front knee and stretch that upper arm overhead. Nice straight line from the top middle finger all the way through the back heel. Let's do two more of those with the breath. Inhale, rising up to reverse warrior. Exhale, coming back down, extended side angle. And one more with the breath. Inhale, back up to warrior two. Drop the hands to the hips, step that back foot forward, shake it all out. And let's come back into our standing resting pose. Feet together or apart, hands by your sides or on your chest and your belly to feel your breath. Close your eyes and do another little breath check-in here. So when we're doing our breath check-ins, there's nothing particular that you should be noticing about the breath. It's more of an open-ended check-in, just sort of seeing what it is that you feel at this time associated with the sensations of the breath. Perhaps you're noticing the rate of your breath. Maybe it's faster or slower than it was the last breath check-in. Perhaps you're noticing the texture of the breath, smooth, or maybe it feels a little bit more broken. Perhaps you're feeling your body moving in and out with each breath here, underneath your fingers. Blink the eyes open, releasing the hands down to the sides. Let's come into chair pose. Chair pose, just like mountain pose, we can choose to have our feet with some space between them, or we can bring the big toes together to touch. For me, that's how chair pose feels better, so I like to do it that way. You're welcome to do it however it feels best for your body. Big toes to touch, space between the heels so the ankles don't bang into each other. And on a breath in, the hands come up. As you breathe out, bend the knees and sit back down into your imaginary chair, pushing the hips down and back. The torso kind of comes forward a little bit to help with the balance. And then we want to push all of the weight as much as we can into our heels. Maybe you can even lift the toes up off the ground and sit up really tall. Notice the shaking sensation. That's trauma being released from the body. That's our muscles releasing any pent-up cortisol. One more big breath in here. And as you breathe out, push your knees back towards straight. Relax the upper body down. If your feet are already wide, you can leave them there, or you can bring weight to the fingers and then heel toe the feet out so that they come nice and wide. Let's come into Ragdoll Pose, reaching for opposite elbows with your hands. Let your upper body just dangle down towards the ground. And you can bend one knee at a time to give yourself a little swaying motion here. Imagine you feel all the kinks falling right out of your spine. And before you release your arms, peek down at the arms. Notice how your arms are crossed here. We're going to try to cross them the opposite way the next time we come into this pose. And then release, fingers down to the ground. Weight comes to the hands to heel to the feet back together. Bend the knees and rise slowly up to standing, arms dangling down, unrolling the spine. Exhale, mountain pose. All right, let's try some balancing postures here. Actually, you know what? Let's take a little seated break first. We'll take a little seated break before we do our balancing postures, which can be challenging for sure. Any comfortable seat. You can sit in easy pose. You can have your legs out in front of you. However you want to be here, just closing the eyes. And we're going to come all the way back to a calm, full, deep breath. So this sort of movement of energy throughout our bodies, the wave, it's like a wave, a sine wave. We raise our energy up by doing poses like chair pose and warrior poses, and then we bring our energy back down again. This sort of action is a way for us to practice balancing our nervous system. Throughout our lives, we encounter situations where our energy levels are raised, and then situations where we want to bring our energy levels back down again and bring ourselves back to a relaxed, calm state. So if we practice doing that in our yoga, practice, in our yoga flows, then we have that experience to fall back on in those other situations in life where you might need it. Take a couple more big, full breaths here. Hopefully we're all the way calmed back down again. We've got some nice full breaths going on. And when you feel ready, blink your eyes open. Make your way all the way back up to standing. I'm just going to take a sip of water really quick. Okay. And let's do our balancing poses. So we'll start with tree pose. All weight is going to come to one leg. And with the other leg, we're going to pop the knee so it goes straight out to the side. We can start by putting the toes on the ground and setting the sole of the foot against the ankle. If that feels pretty good, you can lift it up, bring the heel underneath the knee. And if you're still feeling pretty stable and really flexible, you can try to move all the way up to the thigh here. Any of those foot positions is fine. Check on this standing hip here. I have my little mic receiver, so it looks like it's pushing out, but sometimes we have a tendency to really slouch into that hip and it pushes out to the side. We want to try to be nice and tall in the spine there, keeping that hip in. And then if you feel pretty steady on your feet, maybe you want to start to lift the arms up. Arms can be wherever they feel good. We can bring our fingers together. I like to tent my fingers like this up overhead. You can bring your palms together up overhead. You can have your arms out to the sides or keep your hands on your hips or maybe at heart center. Wherever those arms feel good is okay. Take one last big breath in here. And as you exhale, release, shake it all out. And let's try the other side. So even though our sides look symmetrical, they are not. This side might feel very, very different, and that's okay. We can always take a different option. Just giving consideration to this leg. Might need something different. Toes on the ground, sole of the foot on the ankle. This knee pointing straight out to the side. Lift it up and bring the heel under the knee. Or come all the way up on the thigh. Once your legs are steady, if you'd like, you can lift your arms up. Anywhere those hands feel good is okay. Any hand placement option. One last big breath in here. And as you breathe out, release, shake it all out. Okay, second balancing pose. So this one is like a chair pose, but we're going to come in just on one leg and we're going to have the other foot crossed over the opposite knee. So we'll start by bringing all weight to one leg, and then on a breath in, we're going to float our hands up overhead and lift that knee up. As you breathe out, bring your hands down to heart center, cross this ankle over the opposite knee, make a figure four with your legs, and then bend your standing leg and start to sit low in your chair. Maybe dropping the elbows down to the knee. And then when you're ready, coming back up, lifting the knee high, arms up overhead. Exhale, release, shake it out loud. Okay, trying the other side. All weight coming to the other leg. On a breath in, lifting the knee high, arms up overhead. Exhale, bringing the hands down to heart center and crossing that ankle over the opposite knee, making a figure four. And then bending the standing leg to sit low in your chair, maybe even dropping those elbows down to the top leg. And then when you're ready, see if you can come all the way back up on a breath in. Exhale, release, and shake it all out. Okay, one more little seated break here. And then we're going to put those two poses together. And then we'll have our little cool down session and a meditation. Close your eyes here. Balancing poses also can seem challenging. They might bring your heart rate up. They might increase the rate of your breathing. Just close your eyes and notice what's happening with the breath. There's no right or wrong. There's nothing in particular that you should be feeling or noticing. It's really open to whatever is happening inside of your own body. Maybe these things that you're noticing about your breath don't even have words associated with them. They could just be sensations, just feelings inside of your body. Perhaps you're noticing the rate of your breath, gently increasing, decreasing, slowing down, coming back to a strong, full breath again. And when you're ready, blink your eyes open, come all the way back up to standing. And let's see if we can put those two poses together. Do them at the same time. All weight coming into one leg, opposite knee pointing straight out to the side, toes on the ground, sole of the foot on the ankle, heel under the knee, or all the way up on the thigh. And then, if you like, maybe including the arms. One last big breath in here. As you breathe out, bring the hands to heart center and pop that ankle across the knee and then sit low in the chair. Just stay here for a big breath in and out. And on your next inhale, rising back up to standing. Exhale, release, shake it out. Close your eyes for a minute. You can rest your hands on your upper legs and bring all awareness into your legs. Just noticing the different sensations here between the left leg and the right. One leg you were standing on, the other leg was up in the air doing all sorts of different things. See if you can feel how those two different types of actions made your legs feel so different just for a moment. And then let's blink our eyes open and try the other side. All weight coming to the other leg. This knee is pointing straight out to the side. Toes on the ground, sole of the foot on the ankle, heel under the knee, or all the way up on the thigh. And then maybe including the arm. One last inhale here. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Ankle crosses over the knee and start to sit low in the chair. Stay here. Big breaths in and out. And on the inhale, rising back up, knee comes up, arms overhead. Exhale, release, and shake it all out. One more standing break. Hands on the upper legs. Close your eyes and bring awareness into the legs. Notice any differences there between the right and left leg. Just think about the different things they were doing. See if you can feel which muscles you were using in each of your legs. Maybe you notice areas of warmth or areas of coolness. And then notice how your legs are gently coming back into balance. The body just knows what they need to balance them right out again. When you're ready, blink your eyes open. Let's make our way all the way down to the mat for our cool down session, starting with stretching our legs out long in front of us. Forward fold. The forward fold, seated forward fold, is the most complete back body stretch in yoga. So in our seated forward fold, we're stretching everything from the back of the heel all the way along the back up to the top of the neck. So you could feel this stretch anywhere in any of those spots. And it could be any of those spots that feel tight, that make you find your edge, that point you don't want to go past. So don't worry about how far you get down here. We're just noticing where we feel the stretch. Let's start by having our hands by our sides, sitting up really straight and tall. Take a big breath in. And as you breathe out, start to crawl your hands forward. See if you can keep your spine really long, making a triangle here with your body and your arms and your legs, trying to keep that spine long as you can. And then once you find your edge, you can start to round the back out and relax the head and neck down. Remember, it's not about how far down you go. Every body is different, and we all need to meet our bodies where they are right now in this moment. Just noticing where you feel this stretch. On a breath in, coming back up to a seat. Bring the hands behind you, fingers pointing towards the hips. And we're going to pop the knees up to the sky, plant the feet on the mat. Lean back on your hands and then gently rock the knees side to side. You can come all the way down to the ground, or you can just keep your knees up in the air if that feels better. This is a really nice release for the hips. And then let's come into boat pose. So we'll start by pointing the knees up to the sky. You can have some space between the feet. I like to have my feet together. Either way is fine. And then we're going to clasp onto our knees, one hand around each knee or hands clasped together. Sit up nice and tall, maybe even leaning back in a little bit to get all that length in your spine. And right now we're supporting the length in our spine by holding onto the knees, but we're going to release those hands. So it takes lots of core strength here. Get your core ready, tightening up the core, release the hands, try to keep your spine exactly where it is, and tuck the fingers in the creases of both knees. And then maybe you can float the feet. If not, keep your legs down on the ground. Maybe you can even release your hands out to the sides. And if you really want some core strengthening poses here, you can start to do some boat sit-ups. Let's try 3 of them with the breath. Inhale, lean back, straighten out the legs, but don't touch the ground. Exhale, back into boat. 2 more times. Inhaling to open. Exhale, closing it up again. And last one. Dropping the feet down to the mat, hands behind us, fingers pointing towards the hips. Gently rock the knees side to side. One last time. And let's come all the way down, flat on our backs, where we began. Drawing the knees to the chest, wrapping the arms around the legs. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, forehead to knees, curling tight into a ball, squeezing everything together. Release the head back down to the mat. Arms out wide in a T or goal, posting the arms. Float the legs in a tabletop. Take a big breath in. And as you breathe out, drop the knees down to one side. Supine twist back where we started again. Fingertips can tuck in the crease of the top knee and turn the head, bringing the gaze over to the opposite hand if that feels good. So we came into this pose very early on in our flow. Maybe after doing that whole hour of yoga, maybe it feels a little bit more limber now. Maybe it feels a little different. Maybe it feels exactly the same. That's also okay. Or maybe you don't notice any difference. And then let's try the other side, releasing the top hand back out. Inhale, knees up to center. Exhale, dropping them down the other way. Fingertips can tuck in the crease of the top knee. And the gaze comes over to the opposite hand. Releasing the top hand back out to the side. Inhale, knees come up to center. Exhale, release, coming all the way down to the mat. Making your way to Shavasana, which is our final resting posture. You guys can stay where you are. I'm just going to go grab my little booklet so I can read you the meditation. And then I'll be in a seat so you can hear my voice, but you can find whatever comfortable position you can. Any position that allows you to completely relax into stillness is okay. So if it's not comfortable on your back, you can sit in a seat, you can lay on your side, anything that's comfortable. We're going to be doing a yoga nidra, which means yoga sleep. And it's not really intended to put you all the way into sleep like you go to at night, but it does allow you to enter this meditative, restful state where your mind and your body can really relax. We're just going to be thinking about our body parts one at a time and relaxing them. Close your eyes, noticing any shadows that fall across the eyelids. Notice any sounds you can hear wherever you are. Maybe there's some ambient traffic noise from outside or a train. Maybe you can hear some vents. Maybe there's a appliance running. Just notice any of those noises that you're hearing at this time. And then listen to all the sounds you can hear inside of your own body. Maybe you hear your breath. Feel the weight of your body on the surface of the mat. Feel your breath gently flowing in and out. Notice what is present in you at this time. There's no need to change your experience. Just being with it, just as it is. Thoughts coming and going. Turn your attention to the sensations of your body. Without moving it, bring all of your awareness to your right thumb, noticing where it is in space, if it's touching anything. You can imagine it in your mind's eye. Bring awareness to your right index finger. Notice where it is, how it feels. Right middle finger, right ring finger, right pinky finger. Bring awareness to your right palm. Perhaps you notice a texture or a temperature there. The back of the right hand, right wrist, right lower arm. Bring awareness to your right elbow, right upper arm, and right shoulder. All of your awareness is on your right hand and arm as they relax. Bringing awareness to your right ribs. Perhaps you feel them moving in and out with the breath. Right waist, right hip, right upper leg, the thigh, the right knee, the front and the back, right lower leg, the shin and calf, right ankle, top of the right foot, bottom of the right foot, the heel, the arch, and each of your right toes. All of your awareness is on your right side, leg and foot, as they relax. Shifting awareness to your left thumb, noticing where it is in space, if it's touching anything, how it feels. Moving to the left index finger, left middle finger, left ring finger, left pinky finger. Bring awareness to your left palm, the back of your left hand, left wrist, left lower arm. Bringing awareness to your left elbow, left upper arm, and left shoulder. All of your awareness is on your left hand and arm as they relax. Shifting awareness to your left ribs. Perhaps you feel them moving with the breath. Left waist, left hip, left upper leg, the thigh, left knee, the front and the back, left lower leg, the shin and calf, left ankle, the top of the left foot, the bottom of the left foot, the heel, the arch, and each of your left toes. All of your awareness is on your left side, leg and foot, as they relax. Bring your awareness to the back of your head, the top of your head, forehead, eyebrows, eyelids, nose, cheeks, lips, chin and jaw, the neck and throat, collarbones, and that space in your chest where your heart sits. All of your awareness is on your head, face, and heart as they relax. Take a moment to feel where you might still be holding on to tension, or if you're struggling against yourself in any way. Allow yourself, if it feels right, to drop the tension, the struggle, and just be as you are, resting here, feeling the sensations of the body and the breath gently flowing in and out. We'll have just a couple minutes here of silent meditation, and then we'll complete our flow. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath, taking some deeper inhales and exhales. Bring in some movement into your fingers and toes, maybe rolling your wrists and ankles, rocking your head side to side, and then make your way up to a comfortable seat. We'll just do a couple last poses here to shake our yoga fog. On the breath in, floating the hands up. And as you breathe out, folding forward, stretching the hands out in front of you, relaxing the upper body down. Inhale back up to a seat, floating the hands all the way up. Exhale, side stretch. One hand comes down, walk the fingers out, other arm arcing overhead, maybe bending and straightening this elbow. And then back up to center, breathing in. Exhale, coming down the other way. Inhale, coming up to center. Exhale, hands together in front of the heart. Thank you all so much for joining me today.